The late Tom Kasperzak, his very good friend Pete Newman in the blue jacket behind him. Both of them are passed on. This was a 340 4-speed, one of the lightest cars. The last car I believe that he campaigned called the Heartbreak Hotel. Before that he had a Cuda called the Red Light Bandit. And this was a hard charging, good working car. And I believe the Weber brothers have it now out of Western New York. Adam Zeller, the Mad Mechanic, was quite powerful unit that he'd built and had a lot of campaigning for a few years, and I believe he ran out of money, as these things can gobble up a lot of money, and just kind of disappeared after that. I don't know where he is today or what happened to the car even.
He made the last pass in Herbie Rogers' car before Herbie passed.
Jim Lindsay in the Peppermill. This is late in the game for this car. After that, he took a little time off, came back with a Maverick, and later on an Altered. This is still with the Hemi 4-speed and the 6-cylinder car. Went to Indy every year and cleaned up in H-modified production. Won a championship at Toronto International. Has numerous titles and records for Jim Lindsay, and the famous Peppermill is still racing today with this car. He found it again, restored it, and it is back running again with H-modified production still on the sides. Looks very similar to this even today. The isostatic rebound. This is Jim Stevens. You see Beatty & Woods on the fender, and they converted this car from the Hemi 4-speed to the 440 automatic that he used in Super Pro. This is, of course, the famous Motown Missile, and there's plenty of pictures on the interweb showing this car in its dilapidated state of repair up in Ottawa before it was restored, and it's gorgeous back to the Motown Missile trim today. Ron Mercer, Saturday Night Special Vega. He did a lot of work on this car, 511-inch motor, and you can see that he was running super gas. He actually did the Division 1 circuit with this car, and what he did is he towed it behind his Z28 Camaro on an open trailer. Did all of Division 1 one year, did fairly well for himself as well. He then moved out west and built a 240Z that his son now campaigns in 990 Racing out in Alberta. Bob Elliott in the Ball Auctions out of Guelph. This is a 70.5 Z28 when brand new, special order purple paint, and this is its last incarnation with the chop top. It's heavily modified now. Bob sold it when he bought the Astra of Bert Strauss. He sold it to stock car racers who cut the body off and used the chassis for a stock car, and he feels the body was just thrown out back and is probably a pop can somewhere now. Doug Brinjack, this is a Toronto International Dragway, and you can see that it's already changed over to the Hippie Hemi with a beautiful custom paint on it now with more conventional headers, and he'd done all kinds of different development work on this car. After this year he went to Pro Stock Racing with an ex-Alban Gauthier car, and this car's chassis went back to the United States. Lance Hill's first outing with this car in Pro Stock trim, and I believe that's Barry Poole's wife holding Lance's. That was the end of the day. He broke the shifter handle right off it, and of course went to a better shifter handle after that, and it had quite a successful year campaigning this car in 1970 in Pro Stock with a Can-Am motor bought from Rick Eaton. He then converted it back to a Super Stocker and sold it to racers out of Ohio. Lloyd Knoxville in the Canadian Contender. This is the first version, the red car. I love the guy's pants. Top fuel dragster, had all the latest bits and pieces. And Lloyd out of London, he's passed on now. Later was Black, and Frank Hawley did some seat time in this machine as well. Dave Dudley, Vietnam veteran, came back, saved all his money, and decided to build this Vega double B altered. Also doubled as a gasser at some point. See the race car engineering. He shook it down mostly at Cayuga, and never was overly successful with this car, but was stunningly good looking, and he really put a lot of work into this car. Then Dave Dudley partnered up with Shinsu's, and they did beautiful. Look at this machine. Beautiful Fiat altered out of Gordon Automotive. Similar power plant 392 Hemi. Much more successful with this car, and I think it still lives on today in some form or another.